But speaking of all that, let's talk about a big project we talked
Sure.
that we did.
All right. So
it sucked. No,
well, the thing about it is I think that there's certain things that you have to tell the client that, you know. So everybody has a client where they just keep asking for things, you know, and so when we are talking about this client, right, the thing out the gate is there was always, in addition to, well, we would like this, but we have another video guy who's an editor in Ireland or whatnot,
and he's going to do X, Y,
and
Z.
he's going to be editing all of these. However, can you do 2-minute segments? You know, and that was that's day one.
That was day one. The very beginning was like, hey, we want 2-minute segments or like some short clips and of like, you know, 5-6 videos. And that's kind of what we talked about. And I knew the project from the beginning, especially when he asked specifically he wants 2 videographers. And I was like, yo, you know, we can handle this. But the biggest thing from the beginning of this whole client project is that I never specified exactly, and this is why now we have such thing as contracts, you know, because at the time it's like really easy to be like, oh yeah, free, I'll do what you ask and blah, 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 until it comes down to it, and you're like, I need a piece of paper signed that I can reference, that I know exactly what we're doing. Yeah. Because we went into this project where he wanted all the raw footage to make, you know, maybe make a documentary or something like that, but he also wanted these 2, later found out 10-minute clips of each of these 5 days. That's possible, but it's extremely hard. You shoot that completely differently. Like, for example, like when I give that example to you about the wedding, when we go and shoot a wedding and they say, hey, I want all my vows and I want the whole speech. You know, you set up a lot of tripods from different angles and you get like 5 cameras on them, and that way you cut to, and it's very stationary. So it's not as cinematic, but you get every moment of their facial expressions and what they're saying and the whole vows, and it's going to be a 30-minute piece. But if someone says, hey, I only want like 2 minutes of a cinematic of our vows, but the rest just like, you know, get shots. And then I can like move around. I can get movement. I don't have to stress about getting the exact like lines. I can get all that kind of stuff. But if I were to try to like shoot it and try to get as much footage as I can and try to cut it cinematically, it's really, really hard to do that. Especially when we're talking about 5 cameras that have been recording, 5 or 6 cameras that have been recording for 6 hours, 7 hours?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're talking about what is 30 hours of footage?
Yeah.
Into a 10-minute video.
Each day had its own unique thing. The first day was the conference, and they had 4 cameras set up already, and then we had an additional 3. 2 were held by or being handled by us, but then the other one was just basic tripod cam that was.
But we had us on 2 high-end cameras getting around cinematic shots.
Yeah,
but that's you know, the beginning of this whole thing was my mistake of thinking we can shoot this much stuff in 4K. With 30 frames per second. That is so much footage we had to leave for 30 minutes to go get more SD cards to hold all that amount of footage.
Well, and I think part of the issue was just communication with, or just the client did not explain well in the notes and that. And here's another thing is, so clients will give you different pieces or schematics or of what it is that they are expecting.
Right.
And with that, you know, until you get to the project or location, you really kind of have a guideline of where you're going to set things up, but you can get in there and see that there is no back wall, so you have the sun just portraying through, you know, windows, and you know, all of your shots are going to be way different than you.
Exactly.
So,
and it overall it sucks because this dude that hired us is an amazing guy.
Yeah, he is.
They are doing amazing work. like, it was one of those things that was like a lose-lose situation. But I take full responsibility bringing you on and promising him things that I couldn't do. Like, I thought it would be easy enough to show up, shoot 30 hours one day. One day was 30 hours. And then we had, 2 other days equaling like a total of 5 or 6 videos. I mean, we're talking nearly 60 to 70 hours total that he wants me to make 5, 6, 10-minute clips. And it's like, just to do you remember when we got back, just to transfer, it was
like 2 days.
The footage. No, it was like 5 days. Because it's not like I'm there every time. I got other stuff I got to work on and stuff like that, and I have all these other clients, but I can't even use my computer because it's transferring 4K 30 frames per second. So it took a week for me even to like get it all transferred. Then I had to go in and spread it all out, organize it. This is this day, this is this audio, this is this. And so it took about 2 weeks to get everything just ready to go. Yeah. Then we had to get everything over.
And the other thing with that as well is when you look at these big projects, during that period of time, it was our peak. Yeah. And literally for me, it's typically normal to have 2 or 3 projects at least in the week. Yeah. With the whole month of August, it was back to back to back to back.
Yeah, it was like 6, 7 videos a week. Let alone some of them were bigger productions.
Well, and the whole thing with what you're saying, just so people have an idea, you literally can't use your computer because you're transferring
even high end, bro,
to edit.
I mean, this is a custom built $3,000 PC that I loaded up on credit cards, mind you. That I had a custom built from the ground up with some of the best specs you can get with $3,000. I mean, people will fight you and say you can get a great computer for $1,000. So I put in bigger money to make a better PC. But when I threw in that stuff to start transferring, all of my weddings and all that stuff was on hold. Because my Premiere would just crash. It would freeze. It'd do all that kind of stuff because you're right. It will not transfer. So, I mean, the whole thing about this project.
Oh, I need to. You're good. I need to be gentle.
But the whole thing about this project is it was just one of those things that I think I went into it a little bit. Like, it was a big project, and I was excited. Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing that got me is I was a little bit too excited. Oh, my gosh, this is good money. I'm excited. I want to get into this, and I thought I could handle it, but I was not all prepared. But it's something I think like would have saved the whole thing is if I just was really clear in the beginning. Like I said, the contract paper was just to put it on paper. But if I had just said, listen, what specifically do you want the videos to look like and to be like? What's the purpose of it? Where are you going to post it? Know the audience. Then we can actually know what we're shooting for while trying to get as much footage as we can. Yeah. But going through 60 hours was not ideal.
With that project, looking back, the 2 things that I would probably go back and redo. One is pre-production. We would arrive, and the time frame between all of the locations was very, very, very small. So we literally arrived, and they said, okay, well, it looks like you've got your cameras out. Can we get our interviews out of the way?
And we're just like, man, we don't have things set up.
And there's
and it's crazy we haven't scoped you right. I mean, all of this, I would take like full responsibility. This is nothing on this guy. This is just an adventurous kid.
Opportunities.
Exactly. I'm just an adventurous kid. I get this call. Hey, here's this big project. I'm like, yo, I want to do this. Like, I hit you up. I'm like, let's do this. And you're right. And because it was so much, it was just small things. Like, I didn't know how much 4K 30 frames per second took until we're there. And I had 5 of my 128 4K loaded things filled up.
We were there for 6 hours of conferences.
Yeah, and we had to leave, bro, just to go buy a bunch more. So that's just the one thing. But then I need a hard drive to store all this footage on between the days. That was, $300 or something like that.
We were literally at the location. So I brought, I have an 8 terabyte drive, and we were literally having to transfer and also delete different things as well, just to make room.
Because you're like, wait, is this transferred or not? Because, like, if we delete this, we lose all that.
The other thing, too, is, like, we were literally... So, the time it was taking to record onto the cards, and getting them over to the PC.
Was
the
quicker.
PC literally was taking double time it was taking for us to
transfer.
capture.
So we'd make all this footage, and then we're getting like one SD card back, 3 SD cards, one SD card back.
The client actually pulled out a computer
to help
just
us.
To
so we had 2 laptops going transferring footage.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I'm saying. If we went into this being like, hey, I just want 10-minute highlights of each event. Dude, this would have been easy. We would have shut up, know what we need to get. We wouldn't overshoot. I mean, we got literally so many duplicate clips.
Oh, yeah.
Quadruple clips. Same clip 10, 15 times.
And that's the other thing as well, is like literally at the end of the day, the amount of footage, because they had the cameras rolling as well, you know. But at the end of the day, the amount of footage became the nightmare.
Oh, man.
You know, as far as when I was building the timeline in that, the cameras that they had, you know, I typically didn't use those. You know, it was mainly the ones that.
The handy cams?
Yeah, the handy cams that they had set up. But
because they brought 3 handy cams and we brought 2 of our professional.
They had so they actually had 5 in the
5 the first day,
yeah,
the
first
5
day.
handy cams, and we had our 2 professional cameras, right?
Yeah, well,
and we understand,
3. I had the Mach 2.
Yeah, we had that guy on a tripod.
But
man,
it was a good opportunity just to look back at, you know, and you know, with the projects and that, because you brought this up. But what it did is it pushed back all of the other projects. So it not only were you filming and trying to get that out to him, it forced you to be in the position where you were literally pushing out other clients as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing to call you and be like, hey, I need you for 3 days, and I'm gonna take 3 days of my time and go out and film. Like that sounds easy, but what I didn't take in consideration was the effects after the 3 days was 2 months of stress of just trying to go through. I mean, I'm so overwhelmed. Like taking a 2-hour wedding video is overwhelming. You know, at first you're like, okay, this is 2 hours of footage. Gotta go in and make it
get
10
the timeline.
minutes.
And,
yeah, 2 hours of footage, make it 10 minutes. Like it's creative, it's fun.
Yeah.
I love that process. But when you sit down and you put 30 hours of footage in front of you, you don't even know where to start. I mean, I rewatched the 2 hours maybe at least twice, 2 to 3 times. You know, so that's 5 or 6, 8 hours right there. But when you sit down with 30 hours, I don't have that time.
At the end of the day, it just becomes anyone who's done editing and that. Editing is so different than shooting. Editing is almost like 4 times the amount of time that you shoot. Easy.
It's
you know,
fun. It's creative, but man, the workload.
When you're on a deadline, it becomes
stressful.
Just so much stress, you know, like literally you're up until 5 a.m. You have to have this piece out by 8
a.m.
And then when you go to produce it or whatnot, especially if it's 4K, it ends up taking 2 hours to produce, and that's another nightmare. You know,
the thing with